was inspired to make this video because I was having a conversation with an individual in regards to the school system. And I was really moved and passionate, and I wanted to make this video and touch up on that. Learning and what it means to be smart and just the whole thing, the matrix that we live in. So this is the thing. I'm probably going to title this no such thing as dumb people, no such thing as a dumb question, no such thing as just dumb in general. And this even gets into the conversation of people with disabilities, like just intellectual challenges, or people with disabilities. Fun fact, in case you didn't know, people with autism are actually really smart. You're actually supposed to say people with autism, not autistic. Saying somebody is autistic is very, very offensive, very rude. So you don't want to say that. The proper way and the polite way is people with autism, because it's the condition. Okay, they are not the condition. It's just that they have a condition. So it's two completely different things. I'm going to take a back step and give you a little bit of a backstory. And is this related to fitness? Although I'm doing my pec bounces, so I guess it is. My first language was Spanish. Aprendí un poquito de cosas que la mayoría de la gente aquí en los Estados Unidos son idiotas. Okay, majority of people here in the United States are idiots. Specifically, the people that didn't migrate here. In other words, I don't want to say white people, but I'm just going to use that word. Not all white people. Okay, not all white people, but there are certainly quote unquote the white supremacists, right? Where they think that whatever they think. And I'm taking this, I'm going somewhere with this. Background story on me, when I was in second grade, my second grade teacher put me with the trouble kids. She put me with the people with disabilities, and I think people that were challenged and just they were trouble kids. I was very bright. I am very bright, I would say. At least people so say I am, but always a work in progress. My mother was very disturbed, and I didn't want to go to school anymore because I loved school. I loved to learn. I still love to learn, hence why I make these videos and I talk about stuff to educate you, because I like to learn and I like to talk about things that I learn. And that's what I said when I was a kid, is I didn't want to go to school anymore because I was with those kids. Guess who my teacher was? Surprise! I'm going to try to stay relatively neutral, stay away from the thought-provoking idea of racism. However, it does exist. Okay, it does exist. And I'm persuaded that this woman was racist. And so she put me with these kids because I learned a little differently. And this is the thing. This is why I say there's no such thing as a dumb person. Okay, I know from life experience that everybody learns differently. Okay, and don't let anybody tell you that you are dumb. Everybody learns different. And this is the problem with the school system, is that the school system is designed to only teach one way, right? If you can read and write, that's the only way you're going to succeed. If you can't read and write, your chances of succeeding in school are really low, and they're going to put you with the people with disabilities, or they're going to basically treat you as an outlier and just say he's just not capable, when that's not true. When you were a child and you are at such a young age, you were influenced by your peers, and you naturally when you're a kid, you don't know any better. You just kind of look around and monkey see, monkey do, and you think, well, why am I with these people that are doing less but they're doing more? I can do that. But no, there are idiots and there are teachers that will put those thoughts in the kid's mind, like they did with me, and convince or persuade the kid that no, you can't because of XYZ, because you don't know English, because you can't multiply like that, because you read this sentence and you don't understand what it means. Well, maybe they read the sentence, maybe they multiplied it incorrectly, or maybe they just need a little bit more time to learn. If you're now an adult, it's not that you're dumb. Let's say you work as a cashier and you're an adult now, right? And you were always told that you're not capable or that you're dumb. No, it's not that you're not capable. It's just that you were given cards in life that put you in a position to fail. And so, and that's essentially what happened to me until, I was blessed with a good support system where the teacher was called out and they took me out of that group and put me back with the quote unquote smart kids, however you want to, whatever, if that's how you want to think of it. And the irony is that a lot of my friends were the smart kids. So go figure. I say all this to say that if you are an adult and if you're watching this, I would encourage you not let those thoughts consume you. If somebody says you're dumb or if you feel dumb, you shouldn't feel dumb because you're not dumb. I believe that everyone is smart. It's just that they have to find they're smart, right? So maybe you're really smart with cars. Maybe you're really smart with, medicine. Like you just understand it, what have you. The point is that everyone has a gift, okay? And it's your job to discover that gift and mold that gift, right? Hone into that gift and master it, right? And you can learn different ways. You don't have to read. You don't have to just write. That's not to say don't read. No, you should read. It's just that is not the only way. I used to work with people with autism and people with disabilities, and it's just really sad that people would put these thoughts in these people's heads that they are not good enough or that they are not smart enough when they are. Like, you are capable, you are smart enough. You just have to, maybe you just need a little bit more extra time. You just need a little bit more attention from maybe somebody like a tutor, right? There's no shame in that. Like, own it and let that empower you and be the reason to rise higher, right? Instead of letting it break you down, let it build you up, okay? Don't let those quote unquote racist people, for example, that want to say, oh, I'm pretty sure she was racist. And because I'm Latina, and I think because I've experienced something that really kind of affected me at such a young age, I feel kind of called and empowered and passionate to make this video. If maybe it will touch someone's heart, that again, everyone learns differently and there's no shame. And again, maybe you just need a little bit extra time. This is the other thing. When people say, what a smart kid. Hello. You didn't know that they were in daycare since they were 2 years old. Their parents had the resources. They had the resources. And why they had the resources? Because they were an American family that already had the finances in check and that were in a very good position to provide for that child to learn. Okay, and so the kid was in daycare since 2 years old up until the age of 5, so that he or she could go to kindergarten very well prepared. In fact, more advanced than any other kid because he was in a position to succeed. I didn't have that. A lot of kids didn't have that, right? Not everyone comes from that, especially if your family are immigrants. Okay, like, I mean, my family, my parents were very well for the cards they were given and for immigrating here. And it just baffles me that there are people like that in the world that want to shame like immigrants and say God knows what, and they think that they're better when in fact the immigrants are better because they came here with nothing, with no money, and made something of themselves. Yet you're here in America sitting on your ass saying how your kid is so smart when the immigrants' kids did just as much as your kid. That's an American child. And yet they still succeeded. In fact, they superseded the American kid. Why is that? Pressure, right? Competition, competitiveness. But yeah, it's a real thing. So don't let anyone tell you that you're dumb, because you're not dumb. No one's dumb. There's no such thing as a dumb person. There is such a thing as wrong way of thinking and the incorrect way of approaching a child or a person's way of thinking. Everybody learns differently. All right. So that's the moral of today's video, because that's important. It's very important. Even if you're trying to learn fitness, you're trying to learn exercise. As a trainer, you are a teacher. And as a teacher, you are there to teach. And so what I did when I was a full-time trainer, and help them learn how to move their body in space, because that's what fitness is, moving your body through space, and help them achieve that same outcome that they wanted. So I had like a lot of my clients were like professionals, like attorneys and doctors. And so they were not like kinesiologically, I guess, gifted, if you will. They didn't really understand it, right? And so that's where they hired me, where my job was to help them understand it in their language. You see? Their language. Just like how your language may be Python, your language may be checkers, your language may be Monopoly, your language may be Japanese, Your language may be chess. Whatever your language is, I need to communicate to you in your language so that you understand and so that you can learn as fast as possible. Everyone's wired differently. That's why we all do different things. Not everyone's a doctor. Not everyone's a mechanic. Not everyone's whatever it is. Not everyone is that. Now, if you are an adult, you're working as a cashier at the age of 50, 60, or 40, and that's your main way of making money, then yeah, maybe we need to reconsider a couple things, because there are certainly jobs that are meant to fill. They're like gap jobs. I call them gap jobs. They are not like meant to be careers. Okay, I don't like that word, but careers, I guess. Your consistent way of providing, right? Certainly, I think that there are levels, right? And so you want to kind of find that level and learn how to climb that level. So maybe if you were working as a cashier, maybe you want to be an owner of the store. Okay, so well, then you need to work up to being an owner of the store, or maybe you are the trash man, the guy who picks up the trash. Okay, well, you start off as that, and then you work your way up to owning the trash company, right? Or to managing other people, and you keep moving up, you keep growing, right? You don't want to stay there. You should be advancing, right? You shouldn't be doing monotonous type of jobs. You want to challenge yourself intellectually and, pursue a myriad of stuff. I think that's very important. And I think it's very possible and very doable. And I believe that there is more than enough to go around for everybody. I think that people that stay in those types of jobs, just like monotony type jobs, it's because they don't think that they can do anything more. When you can. You just need maybe a little bit more help. Maybe you need to get a tutor. Maybe you need to get somebody to help you learn this new skill so that you can level yourself up.